What's going on?
What's going on, y'all? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on?
It's the Sean,
Hey, it's your boy Troy, man.
and
Hey, we tapped in.
we tapped in. We had a little technical difficulties, did a little upgrade, but you know what I mean. We try to make sure everything working the way it's supposed to.
Hey, man, it's all right.
And
I'm comfortable. I'm good.
it is what it is. We appreciate the wife. You know what I mean, Miss Bailey, for the assist on this. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's get this thing going, man. We had an interesting event. Unfortunately, it's becoming more common.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In our area, we had a local shooting, um, and for not to go into details about that, but just to talk about the aftermath and how it affects
hmm
the community. The weird thing is that when we was talking about this off camera, I was
Struggling. Yeah.
so the weird thing is, um, when we was talking about this off camera, and the conversation came up today for the first time, I was at work, uh, and they was trying to figure out, what was it over? You know, did they find out what it was over? The crazy thing about my life is that I know what goes on at this level, and I know what goes on at that level, or
hmm
at this level
Right.
within our community,
Right.
right? And for me to answer to that question, just because of the people that I know in the
Right. Right.
community, it, it just it really just stood out to me how unique that experience is for me,
Yeah.
right? And even further, I've got a godson that we've been a part of his life since he was about 2 months old,
hmm
and he walks
Mm.
from the apartments to his grandmother's house.
Uh-huh.
And if he could have very well have been out there walking around when
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of stuff happened. And to have to, to be in a place where, you your personal family don't have to worry as much about something like that happening because you're not necessarily in that
Right
in
in
that
the environment.
environment. But to also be at a place where people that you know and love could very well have been there is a very eerie feeling. You
It,
know?
it is. It is, man. And it's almost to the point now. I seen somebody post on Facebook. They say, "I'm kind of glad my kids don't like to go outside and play." When we was young, we enjoyed the outdoors. That
Right.
went outdoors and you had that expectation. Okay, they gonna make it back in the house. And now, you know, things like this is becoming more common. And the sad part is, n- it's bad for the people that's involved,
Hmm.
but for the kids and the community that has to see this,
Hmm.
because it affects people differently. What I mean, we're talking about it from the outside,
Hmm.
but imagine being there. Imagine hearing the signs.
Right.
Imagine hearing the yells and the crying, and then you still have to get up and go to school in the morning.
Right.
That's a lot on the plate, man. And if as a parent and as a an adult, you want to check on these young people and make sure that they get in the proper counseling or that okay, they may be a little off today. It's not that they're not paying attention, or it's not that they're being you know um, non-compliant or whatever you would call it, man. It's just that, hey, man, I don't know how to deal with what I just saw.
Right. Or not even what you just saw. Just imagine a young kid who grew up playing in that park, playing basketball,
hmm
playing on the swings and stuff like that. Even though they're not there when that happens, what do they feel when they go there? Do they feel safe? You know what I mean? Like
hmm
like in a little 7, 8 year old's mind, how much are they thinking about, is something gonna happen to me when I'm out here playing?
Mm.
And I don't think as a community we talk about those type of things enough, because the thing that concerned me was, if he was out there, what kind of counseling can I get for him
Right.
to help him deal with those emotions? Because some of that stuff ain't gonna pop up until he's a teenager or maybe
Right.
even an adult.
Right.
From being, what I mean, from seeing that or hearing that, you know, the ruckus, the confusion, you know what I mean? Just all of the things that happen with it. Like, that's almost like being in a war zone,
And
you
then
know?
on the flip side, the need to protect yourself and your family.
Right.
Because if you have a young man who's, say, he live with grandma, and he gets to the point, this is getting out of hand, I need to protect. I'm talking about a kid with no criminal intentions. They're saying, hey, man, I better get something to make sure that we're safe out here. Because a lot of these neighborhoods, it's happening more and more often.
Right.
So if he doesn't, have the proper, counseling or the right people around him, kind of that he can talk to and tell how he's feeling, it's kind of natural. Okay, I want to protect my siblings. I want to protect my family, and then that puts him in a situation where he could possibly be, a shooter or something, which it's not necessarily his character,
Right.
but he's doing it from a standpoint I have to protect myself and my family.
Right.
So that's why it's very important, even before things like this happen and even afterwards, that they're getting the proper, counseling and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, if you listening to this, we're not, you know, we wanted to come at it from a different angle as far as like the health and wellness of the family. And so, thankful that there wasn't any little kids out there, but also, for parents and guardians who have kids, young kids that play in that area, having the conversation with them about how do they feel about going back out there.
Right. Yeah.
What I mean, at any given time.
Hmm.
Obviously the parents ain't, or the guardian's not gonna want them out there playing right now after all
Right.
of this stuff happens. But like, how do they feel? How
Hmm.
do they feel? Just asking the simple question. If I let you go back out here and play, how how does that make you feel? Do
Yeah.
you feel like you feel safe?
Hmm.
And if that answer is no, then I think the next thing is, to really get them get them the help they need to be able to process those type of
Right.
emotions
Hmm.
and thoughts. They're not, unfortunately, kids aren't in a position to be able to make the change necessary in order for them
Hmm.
not to be in that environment. I mean, but we can equip them with the emotional tools to be able to deal and navigate
No
through it.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
necessary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like on a brighter subject, man. We talk about success all the time. And I tell my kids, you work hard, the hard work will pay off,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I listened to a guy talk, and he was saying, are we lying to our kids? Are we lying to them, saying that all of the hard work that you do in a particular field or a particular um, profession that you're pursuing, does it always equate into you accomplishing everything that you want? And he's saying, like, it could be, in this scenario, he was equating it to sports. It could be 10 other guys that's just as strong, just as fast, might even be stronger and faster, have better hands at a wide receiver position than you. Yeah, y'all all might have worked hard, but one of you got picked,
Hmm.
right? So he's saying, it really, is it earned, or is it given?
Mm.
Somebody give you, because you worked hard, but somebody gave you the opportunity.
That's the key. Success, you have to earn it. There's nowhere around it. It
Right.
has to be earned. Now, I believe opportunity could be given to you
Hmm.
because I mean it's just like a job. First you got to get the interview.
Right.
Then it's for what you do, what you did up until that point, and what you do after that is going to determine how successful you are. But being given that opportunity. So I believe that um, success definitely has to be earned, but the opportunities could be given. It's about relationships, knowing the right people, putting yourself in. I mean, you can have someone that's super talented, but with no connections.
Right.
Don't know the right people. Don't
Right.
go. Didn't go to the right summer camps. Didn't run in the right AAU circuits or
Right.
things like that, and they just didn't get the exposure.
So the opportunity was never given.
So the opportunity wasn't given.
Right.
Now you take that same person and give them the opportunity with the right work ethic,
Mhm.
then they could, be successful. So.
And I think I agree. I think in order for you to have that success, you had to have done things to get you've had to have done the work to put yourself in
Hmm.
position to get that opportunity, right?
Hmm.
It's not saying that there wasn't somebody who's more talented than you that worked just as hard as you did. It's just they weren't at that place at that time for that opportunity, right? They
Right.
might have their other chance. And so I think there's a level of things that you can control,
Hmm.
the time, the effort that you put into it, and the intentionality of trying to get yourself in places where
Uh
you
huh.
can be seen and where you can be heard. But then the other thing that you can't control is the outcome.
Right. That's it.
When that opportunity comes, you're gonna have to seize it, right?
Hmm.
Which it actually leads me to another thing that I was thinking about. So I know we haven't talked about it, but
Hmm.
just tell me what your thoughts are. So you see, like a lot of times you'll have, um, most of the time it's with sports,
Hmm.
right? Where you have a kid that and they was always naturally good in a sport,
Uh
right? So
huh.
they started in middle school, they started in high school just about every year, right? And then they may have a good work ethic, right?
Hmm.
But at every level, they were always inserted into a starting role or a
Hmm.
leadership role. Do you think that that is a good a good blueprint to have success in the future? So as compared to somebody uh, who let's just say in middle school got cut seventh grade,
Hmm.
right? Next year they got to work to get a spot on the team.
Hmm.
They get a spot on the team. They go to high school. They might got start off at JV, right? But they working hard and they end up getting into that starting role that maybe sophomore year, maybe it's junior year, right?
Hmm.
Maybe it's the senior year. But the skills and the mental toughness that they have to develop to keep persevering through those setbacks, I honestly think that that better propels them to succeed at the next level because they
The
had that
battle
high
test.
and yeah, they had them highs and lows.
Yeah.
So they was battle tested at
Hmm.
seventh grade,
Yeah.
where this other person don't even get battle tested until maybe they step foot on it in college,
Right.
right? And now all of a sudden you're not starting.
And you can't. It's hard to deal with because you're used to being that guy.
Right.
Or and I've seen it in so many arenas where you're used to this automatically, like you said, being inserted. Now, I'm not saying that you didn't work, but
Or you
now,
weren't talented enough in at that level.
right, but now you're amongst the playing field kind of levels out. As you get higher and elevated, the playing field levels out. So now you're not eons better than anybody. You probably can't tell just with the eye test. You really got to go out there and put forth the work and
Right.
challenge. I think it becomes you would have to really have that mental toughness to, like you said, to work through it. Because if you if you haven't been tested, you don't know how you're going to react in situations where hey, I'm gonna sit you down this game. You're not, what I mean, you
Right.
might fall apart because you ain't been there before.
Right. Right.
Where this kid that used to being okay, maybe six man or this, that, and the third. Once he get that starting position, he remembers that feeling.
Right.
And like he's gonna do everything in his grasp to say, I'm not being that guy anymore. Like I'm not being looked over anymore.
Right.
And them the ones that seem to kind of take off and
Right.
understand the roles a little better.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that next level, that's the other thing is understanding your role. But it's no different than like your favorite sport. Well, I'm not gonna say favorite, but boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have guys that never lose a fight. They lose that one fight, and they never the same
Never the
again.
same again. Right. That's it.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
you got some that they lose that fight, and they bounce back.
Now I know where I need to hone in at. I know where I need to show up in my skills at. Because the loss is not the end. I mean, a fight, you win some, you lose some.
Right.
But it's where your mental prepared. And I think that goes, that has a lot to do with the people around you too. Your team, your coaches, and all that. Because we set a lot of kids up for, I'm not gonna say failure, but for disappointment. We see it here, just being in our local area. You play amongst your conference and things like that, and then you go advance to the next level,
Mhm.
or you go to a bigger conference, and it's like you're underprepared. And it's a lots of times that underpreparedness is not skill wise, it's
Mhm.
mental.
Right.
It's mental.
You haven't had enough adversity reps.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
and it shows in your game. So when you get down, do you know how to fight back? Are you scrappy enough? Have you been here before? Can you deal with the talk, the chatter, the crowd?
Right.
But when you've been through that, and that's how you kind of came up through the ranks. This is every day. This is another day at work for me.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh. Um. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, because you can, you see it in kind of every area of life. Sports. Business owners. The difference between one succeeding and one not
Hmm.
succeeding, or somebody reaching a level that somebody else wants to get at, but opportunity, people, all of those things kind of
Oh yeah.
play a factor in it.
And then also a big thing is eliminating the outside noise. Like a lot of going back to like we talked about earlier, like just some of the things that's happening locally, like when someone gets shot or, when there's a high crime area, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to make it out of this and I'm going to use sports or I'm going to use this takes a lot of focus. You got to be able to eliminate the outside noise. So,
Mhm.
okay, y'all want to go and hang out tonight? I'm going to the gym and I'm going to take some extra shots. Or
Right.
remember, I called Coach, man, see if he can, open the gym up for me today. It, but that right there can't be taught.
Right.
That's an individual, something you
It's an
got to dig
inside
deep
job.
inside
Yeah.
yourself to do.
Yeah. That's what's up. So, like on a totally different subject, I'm gonna preface this by saying, like, all of these next couple conversations is hypothetically.
Yeah.
We certainly are two happily, married men, but we just like to talk about things as you know from our perspective.
No doubt. No doubt.
From our perspective. So one of the things that we were talking about is, should you expect monogamy in a relationship from somebody you met in a creep situation? Sneaky link.
A
Can a sneaky link, can it be faithful? Can they be faithful?
I would say I think that's a crazy expectation. That's
Hmm.
almost like saying, okay, we pull heist together. We two robbers.
Hmm.
Now the big bag come along. I'm supposed to trust you, not to do what you do best.
Right.
You rob. You know what I mean? So if I met you on a creek,
Hmm.
it's probably best we keep it just that
Just that.
because me thinking that you're gonna change your ways because of me, because what am I gonna do different?
Hmm.
Because you're gonna get whatever for whatever reason you're seeking outside attention for, whether you got bored or whether you're not getting being paid enough attention,
Hmm.
and eventually you're gonna have those feelings with me, or you know,
So I'm gonna play God's advocate on this one
okay,
and say, to it depends. So if, for one, if you marry and you get out of a marriage because of that, I think you set yourself up for failure, right?
uh huh,
But if boyfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend and girlfriend, y'all haven't gotten to that marriage stage, and y'all meet on a link that way, I think it can be possible.
Mm.
if because there's a reason why,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're at the stage if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, there's something in this relationship over here that is not fulfilling you enough to go to the next step of getting married,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something there, and I think we talked about this before. Like as a single man, if
Mm-hmm.
you see a woman and she don't have a ring on,
Still fair game, right?
right,
Okay.
right. But where the issue comes in is trust,
Mm-hmm.
right, and your character.
Yeah.
Because if you know that this about the if you're doing this and you still planning to stay over here, like it it ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? But like if you're doing this and you saying, okay, well, I'm halfway checked out of this one already,
Mm-hmm.
and this starts off as something that's physical, and then emotions and stuff get involved. If you start to, what I mean, then still hold on to this because you don't want nobody else to have it, or what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, whatever reason. If you can't step up and be like, look, I can't keep doing this, and you gotta be able to cut it off with this person and be like, hey, look, this ain't working, but also have the honest conversation with this other person, like, hey, what you do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we can't. This we got to figure this thing out. Either we gonna be solid with each other, or we gonna keep doing this thing.
I believe it could happen. It could mature into a real relationship, but I still think it's a crazy expectation. If
It
it
is.
happened, it happened.
It is. It
But to think that somebody, because people don't change people,
No, you
people
gotta
don't
learn to
change
do something.
people, and if you get into it, I mean, most people, if you do engage in something like that, it's for something. You're getting something out of it. It's a
Mhm.
thrill or something like that. But them feelings they're gonna go
And it goes back to the conversation we had before. It's just like, what are you practicing?
away. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what? Even though I'm playing God's advocate on it and saying,
Hmm.
okay, well, what if this was a scenario or whatever? But it's like if you are engaged with somebody who practices doing this
Hmm.
until they've stopped practicing doing that, you can't expect anything else out of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't just transition from practicing to then linking up with somebody else and think that you still ain't gonna practice.
Right. Right.
You
Exactly.
know what I mean? It's just
Exactly.
like either, but I think, the only way that would happen, I think the only possibility of it being able to happen, off of the sneaky link is full transparency. Y'all put
Mm.
everything out on the table.
Yeah.
Like moving forward, like this is everything. This is my issue. This is why I've normally done this in the past. Like it's got to be transparent. You got to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To be able to even build from that level, because you're building from a level of distrust
And
in the first place.
you starting off with the side eye already because hey, you got somebody at home and you here with me. So I'm, you know, in my mind, I'm already looking like, you're not the most
Trustworthy,
trustworthy
right?
type person,
And
right?
you're not the most loyal person,
Right. Right.
right? Because we talk about that loyalty and respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you can you can to somebody that's loyal, that you're loyal to,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what they do, that loyalty just won't allow you to do something.
Right.
It won't let you go against them like that. You know what I mean? Now you can respect somebody and do some disloyal type stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you're loyal, so and in order to build a good relationship into something that can become a union, you gotta be loyal.
You have to be. You have to be loyal. But being loyal, does that mean being loyal in that one area, or then does that mean being loyal to the cause and the commitment? So, because when you think of marriage,
Mhm.
it's a lot of different buckets that has to be filled for it
Hmm.
to be a complete marriage. And
Right.
when we talk about, sex, when you talk about that part, that's one bucket.
Bucket. Right.
You have a whole lot of buckets. So when I think of loyalty, I think of I'm committed to making sure we're well balanced in all of these areas. So
For sure.
if you fall short in one of them, and hopefully it's not that one,
Right. Right.
am I still loyal to the point where we can continue building this thing? Because
I think if you, I think when you get to that point, you know what the other person's non-negotiables are, right? And so if you're not loyal to one of their non-negotiables, then you're not loyal.
right, because you know
Right.
how this is going to affect
Right.
the other person. So let, let's say from a male standpoint, because we know we see women all the time, man, take someone that has some indiscretions back plenty of times,
Hmm.
and they keep it moving. Now, on for men,
Hmm.
do you feel like men feel that it's a sign of weakness to take somebody back who's been unfaithful?
I think yes.
You think it is a sign of weakness, or you think that men think?
I think men. I think men think it is a sign of weakness, just in general,
Hmm.
right? If you know, but then a lot of times it's a lot of times can can we take the repercussions of our own actions, right? Some people will do things and not expect a equal and opposite reaction
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
other end.
yeah.
And so when that happens, I think a lot of times it it catches them off guard.
Right,
You know what I mean? Because like, is this really who you are, or are you just doing this because of what I did?
right, right.
So in that instance, I think it's looked at a little bit differently, where it's not like, okay, I, I see why you did that because I've been doing it,
Hmm.
right? But for somebody who's not doing that and their partner is cheating on them, I think that is perceived to be a sign of weakness.
It could be, but also I think
I'm not. So I didn't answer that straightforward. I said that can be perceived as a sign of weakness. Do I think that's a sign of weakness? I think it depends.
what I would say. Let's say career-driven male, fresh out the gate. We watch a lot of movies and stuff. You see, it's a common scenario. You're working hard. You leave wifey at home. You're not doing date nights. You out. You close the deal. You out to the bar with the fellas. You all this. So okay, when it hit the fan, just like anything else, like if you start to decline in your 9 to 5 or that you're committed to, and things not going the way, you're gonna go back to the drawing board and take some self introspection. Say, okay,
Mhm.
what am I not doing, or what am I doing? I think that's a great opportunity. Not in every situation, because some people it's just their nature and they're gonna do that. But
Mhm.
in a situation where okay, this is not like her, it's nothing wrong with looking at yourself and saying, hey, what am I
Right.
not doing? And that could possibly make the relationship stronger later on in the road. Now you have to have some really tough skin out,
Right. Right.
you know what I mean? But
So, like, I agree with that. It could be a time for self reflection. Like, okay, well, am I not? Is there something that I'm missing, right?
mhm,
Or uh, is there somewhere I'm not checking the boxes that I can control, right? And
mhm,
so, if you self reflect and you strong enough to have that conversation with her, and you work on those things, and like really work on those things, and it happens again, at that point it becomes just be a sign of weakness,
yeah, 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 yeah.
because now the issue's not you.
Right, because
This
you done
person,
already made sure that you done did what you needed to do, took your inventory. It's
right?
not me.
It's not me. So now The issue is this person, the other person, that's something that they want to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so if you take them back 2, 3 times, it's like unless they be real with themselves and have that self inventory, it ain't gonna. It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah. 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 Well, what Bob Marley said though. Bob Marley said, "Listen, everybody plays the fool sometime, man. You just gotta find out who is worth playing
Playing the fool.
playing the fool for it, right?" And that doesn't necessarily have to be like that
Right.
at all, man. But
Hey, but
every situation is different, and if someone came to me, a friend
mhm.
come to me under that situation, hey man, what should I do? That's one of the situations, man. I'm gonna say you, the only person who know
I'm glad
what
you said that. I'm glad you
what to
said
do in
that,
that
man,
situation.
because that was something I don't know where. Again, on the timeline somewhere,
Hmm.
and that was one of the questions. Should friends give friends advice on relationships?
You could give friends advice on them. One of my homies come to me. How does that make you feel? How does this affect your life? Does it
Right,
affect your relationship with your kids? Does it affect, I'm
right.
going to talk to you about you. I'm not going to talk to you about that other person
But no,
because,
man, what you think I should do? What do you think I should do?
bro, you the only one. And if you don't not sure, then you know what I mean? Because I don't live with you. I'm not in an intimate relationship with you.
Right,
So I don't know the ins and outs. And for me, when I make a decision or when I give advice, I like to have all the information. So
right.
unless I'm going to sit down and
But
talk to both of you guys,
you still ain't getting all the information.
yeah, I'm just gonna say, hey, you know what you can handle. You know how this gonna affect you. I'm here for you either
Right.
way.
Yeah. And because I mean, even when you do, I don't give advice. So, but if you do, what happens is now you gave people access to your relationship.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So now you can't be mad when they got comments to say about what's going on in your household and all that kind of
right.
stuff. Well, you came and you asked, and I told you I thought this is what you should do, and this is what you did, and it ain't working out, so you should do. You know what I mean? Like you've now given them that access to be able to be one of the commentators on your
Exactly.
relationship.
And if we're gonna be real, everybody knows what they would do until they have to do it. They can tell you 1,000 times, oh man, I would do this
Until it happened to
until it
you.
happened to you. And now,
And then, well, see what you don't understand.
yeah, right. So
Right.
that's why I'm
See,
not
I don't understand. So there's no need for me to give you no advice on
right.
nothing.
That's
Nothing.
it.
You know what I
No,
mean?
I'll
Work,
listen to you.
work on, yeah.
Yeah,
Work on you, cause
that's it.
yeah, where can you be better at? How do you feel? What do you think you should do? I
That's
mean, my best teacher, man. I go to him with a question. He come and he answered me with a question.
right.
Is this the right way to do it? I don't know. What do you think?
That's
That's why I'm asking you.
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
hmm
If you don't think that you don't have the right answer here.
right.
So maybe you're doing something wrong.
So let me ask you this: giving advice or is giving a real life scenario or situation of your experience. Let's say somebody comes to you advice, you say, hey, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you I had this situation happen to me, years ago, and this is how I handle it.
No. So I don't. I try not to. Because how it worked for me in my life, might not work for you in your life, right? So when somebody try to come to me with something like that, I always go back to my source, and I pray that something that I've read in the Bible
Hmm.
gives me a word of wisdom for them
That's
to
it.
be able to exercise in their life.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of really what I go back to. Like I'll read Proverbs and Ecclesiastes,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know what I mean, books where I can find where I found wisdom and stuff at,
Hmm.
because that's what's honestly that's what God governed my life.
That's
So
it.
um, you I try to lead by principles.
Hmm.
Because if you weighing it on these principles,
then you're gonna get your answer.
You gonna
You're gonna get your
you
answer.
gonna get your
Yeah,
answer.
and a lot of times people like to hear be their ears tickled. They like the ears tickled, man. And because what I share with you might cause us to stop being friends. You know what I mean? If you
Right.
really want me to be honest and transparent, well, bro, I know you.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is you remember this, remember when you did this and this and this, and you might say, Troy, you here for me or you here for
Right.
so it's best not to even engage or talk to me. Yeah, talk to me about it, man. Or talk to God.
Right. So what is so what would you say to one of your kids? Like, okay, they've been with a significant other for a while, and you know, what I mean, you from the outside looking in, you know, could be like, okay, they've been with this person for a while. You know, it seems like they treat each other, genuinely love each other. I like the way they treat my son or my daughter. Um, and they come to you and ask you, so your son's, that's it. Yeah, you think I should marry you? What kind, like, are you going?
I'm gonna talk to him about marriage. I'm not gonna talk to him about her. I'm gonna talk about
Uh-huh.
this is marriage. This is what I perceive marriage to be. This is and this is how I look at it. This is what the Bible says about marriage.
Hmm.
Balls in your court. You figure it out. I'm gonna show up. If you marry, I'm gonna show up. If you decide not to, but those questions can only really be answered by the individual.
Right.
Because I mean, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Even though I see, because you could look at, it's a lot of couples you look at seemingly happy
Hmm.
and everything's together, and behind closed doors, it's the total opposite. So,
Right.
giving my kid advice, man, that's a hard one, man. It's a hard one because you don't want to see them bump their head or go down the wrong
Right.
path, but at the same time, you don't want to stop them from happiness because what you want for them and what God has for them could be two different things, and you have to let
Let
it
them
work.
work. Right. Right. I mean, I just figured I'd throw that out there, man.
Yeah, but you can't ask me if unless you're gonna answer it.
Nah, I would do the same thing, man. Because I don't want them making what I consider to be a lifelong commitment based on how I feel about a person.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
I don't have to live with them. I don't have I
Hmm.
don't have to be what I didn't choose to be with them. The person I chose to be with, I'm with. Right. And
Right.
this is why these are the qualities that stood these are the things that I was looking for and the qualities that stood out to me that made me feel like I thought your mom was the one that I wanted to marry.
Right.
Um, and I would also tell them like, okay, this isn't just a today decision, right? This is a lifelong decision.
Oh yeah.
And the one thing I think like young people kind of get caught up on, which is crazy because again, I'm going back to the Bible again. Um, when I think it's in Proverbs when he was talking about uh, I think a virtuous wife and how like over years that beauty in the beginning time it'll fade,
Hmm.
but those virtues, that character, those you know what I
Yeah,
mean,
they
those
strengthen
godlike
over the years.
qualities, they get stronger
Hmm.
as they get older. And if you're with the right person, even though they might be old and gray and wrinkled, guess what you remember? That
Yeah.
20 something year old thing
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
met back in the day.
Yeah. No doubt. No
That's what
doubt.
you see. Everybody else see this, but when you look at them, you see that
Yeah. The person you fell in
with
love with.
all of the extra, with all of the memories and all of the wisdom and knowledge that's been gained through all of those years. You know
Facts.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No
Um,
doubt.
and so like that's what I would talk to
So I'm thinking, man, it's kind of in that same vein. So let's say kids jump out there and they make that move, or they get in a relationship and fall on hard times.
them about.
You know what I mean? They fall on hard times and they call you up and say, you know what, mom, dad, we need to come back to the house.
Hmm.
First of all, do you open your door, welcome, welcome with open arms? And if you do, does do you deal with your son and your daughter differently, as far as like how long they can stay? Do they get a bedroom? Do
Um, yeah, they could come back. I mean, because this it's home. I mean, I'm not gonna see my kids homeless. Um, I would there would be stipulations,
yeah?
time frames that need to be met. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Work that's need to be getting done. Um, because I don't want them to feel comfortable with where they
Mm.
at. And I would say I probably would be. I don't want to sound bad, but it's the expectation level. You know, a woman looks to be provided for, right? A man should be looking to provide,
Hmm.
right? So I would probably be harder on my son to to get to find his traction.
So you think a shorter timeline for him?
Shorter timeline, less comfortable living quarters. You know what I mean? Girls might be able to get a go in a spare bedroom. He might have to sleep on the couch.
Uh huh.
You know what I mean? Nah, don't get too comfortable.
Right, right,
Don't, yeah, I mean,
right.
because I want like you're gonna have hard times, but I want you to be able to I want you to be able to bounce back, right? I want you to make that mistake when you're young, right?
Hmm.
I want you to be able to bounce back, but I also want you to know that you have to go out and do. You can't expect to to have things come to you and you kind of take your time or I mean because evidently you're in this situation because it's time for you to build some character,
Right, right.
right? So we're gonna help you build some character.
But the safe haven about coming home too, though. So, because I mean, it's nothing like going home. You know, when you go home,
Right.
and it doesn't. Sometimes it's not even financial. Like when you fall on hard times, sometimes it could just be the mental.
Right.
And we know life moves faster now. It moves a lot faster than when we were younger
Oh
with
yeah,
the
for
young
sure.
people. So they get in situations. I do want to always. I mean, home. My door is always open. You can come back, and our boys come to the house now. And they say, it's something about peaceful
Hmm.
about being home.
Yep.
You can come, you can unwind, you get a mental break. So, like I said, I
I always wanted to feel that way.
yeah, yeah. You always want to feel that way,
I
and
don't want them to stay forever.
but that timeline looks different for
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
kids. You know what I mean?
Right,
Some of them come home, they might need a month. You know what I mean?
right.
As long as you're working toward coming out of wherever you at, I'm cool with it.
Hmm.
Now, if you you getting too comfortable, every day toes twitching, you lay back in bed, remote in your hand. Hey, we might have to have something. Let's need the something. And
Yeah.
then as a father, my baby girl,
Hmm.
it's almost to the point, man. My wife probably would have to motivate her to leave because it's something about me. I just
And that's what I'm saying. Like with it ain't like you. Is it a double standard? I guess. Like I said, it is because I guess the way I look at it, I'm raising all of my kids, right? Um, I'm providing for them all. I'm teaching my son how to provide, but I'm teaching my daughters what to look for to provide.
right, right,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I think that's why I look at it differently, is because I I want them to have the mindset of they can provide for themselves, right?
Hmm.
That they can go out, that they don't need somebody to validate what they're doing and who they are. But I also want them to have some attributes that they're looking for in the person that they're looking to be with and build with,
Hmm.
right? And I'm trying to impart those thoughts and that desire into my son,
No doubt.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so like it's to me, I'm doing the same thing the same way, but for different you know what I mean,
For
for
different
different
reasons,
reasons.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's for, if it's a word, the betterment
Right.
of them both ways. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah, in both ways. Because and then another way to look at it with me, if something happened to me, God forbid, tomorrow, I would want to leave here with the peace of knowing that my boys got the family. And it's not never
Whatever they can
strong, but
provide.
they can provide for themselves. But they can come check on mom, take care of mom. They can
Right.
baby sister. You can do that,
Right.
and so I think that's what we try to see in our sons
Hmm.
while we're here on this side. We want to see that stability and that stableness and that strength
Right.
from them because it makes it easier for us to start to relinquish some of the
Right.
burden, stuff that we had to carry around the whole time, being the primary provider, for the whole family, whether that's physical, whether that's financially, mentally.
Right.
So yeah, you want to see that, and so you want to instill that in your sons, but and with your daughter, you just want them to always feel safe.
Yep.
You want them to feel safe.
Yep.
So
Safe and provided for.
yeah,
I mean,
no doubt.
that's really what it comes down to. So just in case my kids are watching, I love y'all all the same.
Oh, no doubt,
You know what I
no
mean?
doubt.
But it's just I really, you know what I mean, I really would want just being real. It probably would be different. You know what I mean? Just being real. You know I'd probably be harder. Um, but you know what I mean, that is what it is.
No doubt,
That
no
is what
doubt,
it
no
is.
doubt.
Um, Man, I was trying to think of something the whole time we've been talking, like real estate related wise, that I could share that I thought would be helpful. Um, so I would say, like as far as real estate, most people want to buy real estate when everything is going good,
Hmm.
right? Like when interest rates are low and everybody's getting qualified, houses is flying off the shelves.
Inventories out there.
Yeah, I mean, multiple offers. It's almost like people see they want to get in on the action,
Uh huh.
right? I would say when you start if you're at a place where you can buy and things start to feel uncomfortable, that's a mass feeling. It's being fed, right?
Hmm.
Rather through your social media, through TV, through conversations at your workplace, people are becoming more fearful. That is the time when there's actually more opportunity.
Mm. Oh yeah, because less people are pulling the triggers, less competition.
Yeah, you'll see inventory like right now. Inventory has gone up just a little bit,
Hmm.
um, and you'll have more options, right? So you won't be settling for something because you're competing with less people. You do still have to be focused and know what you want,
Hmm.
but the likelihood of you being able to get that is going to be a lot higher. And then I tell people all of the time, like if rates go down, they're not going to go down to 2 and 3%. That's done.
Uh-huh.
But if rates start to go down like below 5%, they get to 4.5 or something like that. Something bad is going on. Like we're in a recession, we at war. What I mean, something's going on
Right.
where people just aren't feeling comfortable, and the government is trying to make people buy.
Yeah, they want to stimulate the
They
economy.
want to
Just
stimulate the economy and make people buy things. And so you can't time that type of thing,
uh-huh.
but you can certainly sense when the shift is happening and realize that when people start to shift the other way, you should be shifting towards, trying to find that house.
So is it safe to say that when you do see those changes, and I guess you can consider it lean times, that people are more apt to make the deal work too? Whether you're dealing with the banks, whether you're dealing with that, it's a good time because we we want
We want to get it done.
want to get
Even
it
with
done.
even negotiations with the sellers. right?
Right.
Because there's the angst with them. Like if I don't get this thing sold, I might not be able to make this next move
Right.
or whatever I want to do. So it's a lot more in your favor if you're a buyer when things are uncomfortable. It's no different than in the stock market. Most people want to buy stocks when the stock is going up.
Mhm.
When it crashes, like, oh my God, I'm not getting buy no stocks now. It's like, well, if you bought it now, you
You
getting
would
them
get
at a
them
half price discount.
right.
You buying those? I mean, you go in Kohl's or wherever,
Hmm.
Macy. Well, they ain't even around no more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you go see the sale rack. I mean, there might be something on the sale rack that you like.
That's it.
You getting it at a deal. You know what I mean? When I go to the store, that's where I go to first.
Last act, man. I'm right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see what's popping over there first while
That's
paying
it.
full price.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. Stock market, retail, housing market. I mean, you buy when there's uncertainty, and then when people are going the other way.
And just reverting back, man. We're not supposed to operate in fear anyway.
Right.
We're not supposed to let fear be. And you do have to be mindful,
Right.
and you have to kind of wait things out. But hey, if it's time to go, it's time to go,
Right.
man. It's go time. Don't let fear paralyze you.
For sure. For sure. So as always, man, I forgot at the top of the show. Like, comment, share. Appreciate the little traction that we've gotten over the last week. Some of the videos that we done put out. We just need those things to keep going.
No doubt, no
What I
doubt.
mean, let us know that we going in the right direction. But also, man, comment. If you want us to touch on a subject or maybe you disagree, maybe we come back and hey, I seen this comment. What you think about that?
That's it. Let's talk about it,
Yeah,
man. Let's talk about it.
we all want to talk at you. We want to talk with you.
That's it. No
You know what I
doubt.
mean? So
So tap in with us, man.
tap in.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace.